I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Before we get started, pass that around to our deserting member. And we'll take a little time to talk about Anita at the end of the meeting. All right, we'll start with our attendance. Misty Cottle.
Here.
Anita Lowry.
Here.
Jeff Upton.
Here.
Jan Throgmorton.
Here.
John Collins. Here. Kira Hungate.
Here.
Hungate, sorry. Don Rollins. Here. Joe Tower. Here. City Attorney's here, and our city clerk. So next is the adoption of our agenda. Are there any changes that need to be made? Do we have a motion? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Next is the approval of our meeting minutes from November 13th, 2018. Are there any changes that need to be made there? So we do have one piece that Ann was where the planning commission was actually Jack Cunningham. I don't know why. Were there any other changes? So, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the previous minutes as correct.
Second. Motion second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Next is our public forum. We'll allow 2 minutes per speaker for anyone from the public to address the council and mayor. We won't take any action on anything that's brought up during the public forum, but we may ask questions back to you and have a conversation with you about whatever you bring up. So, does anyone have anything they'd like to address the council about? Tell us your name, young lady.
My name is Jane Bryant. I'm a member of the Friends of the West Fork Library. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of John Riley and our support for him as our librarian. I need it recorded that the Friends of the West Fork Library did not recommend or sanction or support the discussion and the decision that the library board made last Thursday night. It was my impression that we were making progress with John. We know he has weaknesses. He's known about that for a long time. The board's been working with him. We know he had management issues, financial concerns, but I did think that we were making some progress. And unless there's some sort of egregious matter that we don't know about, because I don't know what went on completely, and I did not push myself on John to ask him, so I don't know everything, but I'm just saying from my point of view as a member of the Friends of the Library and a community member that uses the library 2 or 3 times a week, that I am aware of the asset that John is to this community. If a decision had been made up to the patrons, Friends of the Library, and the wide community support that John has, the decision would have been different. We would have given him more time. We might have tried other means of accountability. We are saddened to see him go. If you had spent any time in the library and you had watched him with community members, you would see what an asset he was. He went far above and beyond the job description of a librarian. I think the decision was a mistake, and I'm sorry to see him go. However, the Friends of the Library will be having a reception for him in appreciation and support for him. We invite you to come and tell him how much he's meant to this community over the last 40 years. On December the 28th, on Friday afternoon from 11 to 2, we'll have some refreshments, and you can come and show your appreciation for him. And if I have any time left, I'd also like to address Isaac Carterson. He thinks I'm a troublemaker, but I want to express my appreciation to him and the way he conducts his business in this town. He is what we would call a self-directed person. He sees something that needs to be done, and he gets it done. I am really excited to see him clean the streets with the backhoe and the front end loader down our street where the grass had grown up and shrubs and bushes. It means that somebody has taken an interest and cares about how this town looks. Now we need to work on the sidewalks, but Isaac, I've got him on my speed dial. When I call him, anytime, he'll get back to me, early or late, but I can count on Isaac, and I just want to say thank you. The last thing I'd like to say, if my time's not up, the Master Gardeners have, well, you know when our construction begins on the library, it's going to tear up our gardens. And so the Master Gardens have applied and received a grant from the Arkansas Flower and Garden Show in Little Rock to replace some of our plantings. We're really excited about that. I don't know how much money it is yet, but we will at least have some funds that we can use for our new building. Thank you.
Any questions for Jane? Hang on just a second, Jane. Any questions for Jane before she sits down?
Is it going to be brought up without John in this? Because I didn't see it on the agenda at all.
So,
And the council actually hadn't even been told. I mean, it's just rumored that anyone would know about it.
so the library board met Thursday night and made that decision. These packets were already in your home when the board met. So, no, it's not on here. But yes, we can, I can confirm that the library board did vote to terminate John and begin the search for a new library.
This was not just rumor. The Washington County Library System had reported this, so it's not just rumor.
Right. Yes,
Okay.
the library board contacted the Washington County
Mhm.
Library System to let them know.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, as of December 31st. Okay. Would anybody else like to address the council? Yes, ma'am. Tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Betty, and if you don't know, I work at the library. And people are going to be asking why.
Mhm.
What is the official answer that I should give?
That is a good question, Betty.
Well, think about it and let me know, please.
I think we would. And here's the thing, I certainly don't want to tarnish John in any way.
Absolutely.
I think Miss Jane kind of hit on it. There was some management concerns that the board had, especially moving into a new building, and I think it would be best to say that
Management concerns.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Betty? Would anyone else like to address the board?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Tell us your name.
Greg Korleski, West Fork, lived in West Fork down in Greystone subdivision. So this is all kind of doing it with water. It's kind of three separate issues. It's been well over a year since I stopped in to find out about the water pressure. And at that time, they were going to do some maintenance on the water towers, and there was talk about maybe moving the one that handled south of town. Well, it's actually gotten worse. Just in Greystone alone, we've added 5 different houses, so the pressure's going down. I mean, we can't take a bath because by the time you got it full of water, it's cold. When I go to fill a gallon pitcher in the kitchen, it takes at least 3 minutes. I mean, I can turn it on, leave the room, go in the garage, come back, and it's just about full. I mean, it's getting down there. So it was around 30 pounds. So that's one issue. The other question was, there was some scheduled work done in I think it was July, towards the end of July, and it was done at night. I should have known. I was driving back and forth, they were doing digging, I saw the big valve there. Well, they did it at night, and they just shut the water off. So I'm in the shower at night after working all day. No water pressure, I drive down there and I go, well, this is scheduled work. It wasn't an emergency, so if it's scheduled work, I guess my question is the residents should be notified. And the water bill had just gone out, so it could have been attached to that or printed on there. So I guess it's just FYI, because I wasn't very happy that night. And then, you have to drain all the water out of the lines, got to change all the filters. My kitchen filter had to get changed because that's all full of, my mom, who's 87, called up to have the city flush the line after the work was done, because there was so much sediment in there. Normally, it's done right away, so that could have alleviated a lot of problems. If we had been notified also, I could have hit the zone valve out that every house has, so it could have eliminated some of the sediment coming into the house till after the line was flush, and you wouldn't have had the air issue. So there's a bunch of little things. And then the last thing is even more important. When new houses are built and the pressure test is done on the sewer line, it's under pressure. It has to hold for, I think it's 24 hours for sure. Most communities it's 24 hours. Well, here you guys let them take the pressure test off before the concrete's poured. So we got the sewer pipes down 18 to 24 inches, and they're driving 30-inch stakes. Well, my mom's house, 87, so her plumbing's all jacked up. So anyhow, what happened was 4 stakes got driven through the lateral line of the sewer line. So everything's, going into the house, and then all the debris is catching on the sewer pipe. So the whole system's backing up. She dealt with that for 8 months. So my point is, you should amend the inspections so that that pressure test isn't taken off until after the concrete's poured, because that will verify that all the underground water lines and the sewer pipe is intact. Because you're kind of missing the boat there. And it almost didn't get covered by the insurance and everything. So it's a chain of events. The deepest pockets, and you guys are on the hook in that chain. So I guess I'm just bringing it up because we had the issues with the inspectors just being appointed initially. I don't know if that's been rectified either, but because they have to be credentialed through the state. So I guess it's multiple things. So I guess that's I was just trying to look for an update and just kind of let you know about the other water things we had going on. But the water pressure is getting to be a little ridiculous. The last thing, if I have 30 seconds, is the school markings on McKnight. I'm trying to figure out why it's 20 miles an hour. I mean, it got onto social media how it's a speed trap and different things. And I actually got pulled over, and I'm thankful for the police department that they just gave me a verbal and let me go away. I assumed it was 25 miles an hour also. And my question is over here it's all young kids. They're all getting dropped off by their parents, the majority of them. Over here you got walking students, and it's 25, and over here it's 20. There's no flashing lights, and if you look at it, both directions in both these school crossings are very confusing. You got over here, you got 20 miles an hour sign and 2 25-mile-an-hour signs. The crosswalk is marked, 25 feet from where the crosswalk is, but there's different requirements for those different things that come up. So if it's going to be 20, I think that one should be with flashing lights. It's like I told him, I says, I don't intentionally drive on the street I live on. I drive that at least once a day, in both directions, probably multiple times. And I'm conscious of the kids and everything else. But, maybe it's something they could look at. Because the biggest thing I saw, it looks different now. And in the summer, when all the branches are growing, 3/4 of the signs are covered before you're right on them. I mean, when you turn that corner down here going what is that, west, towards Harps, you don't see any of those signs with the branches that are over. So that's a trimming job that can be done anywhere, But
Well, it is, the chief had told me that they couldn't write as many tickets if we clean those bushes out.
well, I understand
what you're
that.
saying.
I mean, if it's due, it's due, I mean,
So
but,
I think I'll let Isaac and the chief both reply to some of your concerns, and I think they can address most of the issues that you brought up.
First, we don't set speed limit signs. That was done by the past
business manager, I guess is what you call it. They're marked at 20 miles an hour, 7:30 to 8:30. It is clearly marked as far as I'm concerned. It says 20 miles an hour. Now, any of the other time, that would be 25, same as the other road. Why he decided to go 20 miles an hour, I was never talked about that. There was another chief at the time. That's what he, for the kids, I think he thought that was the safe route to go. We did have a problem. We did have issues with people doing well over the speed limit. That's why we try and go in, park cars, watch that speed, and keep the speed down. That's all, like I said, it's only from 7:30 to 8:30.
Right.
So any other time, you're doing the same speed limit throughout. I don't know about the flashing signs. I think that's,
Flashing signs is because it's a state highway. It's mandatory.
I believe that's, the state puts that up.
Yeah, mandatory.
This is a city street, that
As
is.
you look at
state.
traffic flow, I think
Yeah.
there's 10 times the traffic on
Yeah.
that within that road. I mean, so it
Yeah.
doesn't really, I guess if
That's
you're gonna do
mandated by
something,
the
be
state.
consistent on what you do, don't kind of be all over the
Well, and
board.
That's
keep in
something-
mind what they're saying is some of this is state doing and some of
Right.
it's city. And
So
so,
that city, that could be changed.
correct,
Right? So I guess then you're getting everything the same.
yeah.
I'm just saying, it would catch somebody off, and if I, and I was speeding, according to the sign, and he was gracious enough to let me off.
We-
So
we have a good group.
I'm thankful about that.
We have a good group.
And sometimes I wouldn't say nothing, but I got away with it. But if I was due, I would take the ticket, and I would pay it. I wouldn't be happy, but I would do it. I was just kind of.
No, you're not the first one to bring it up.
Confusing, and then
Yeah.
when I saw it on social media, I go, well, that's not a good thing for, pop up about West Fork. It's like, hey, you wanna attract people and not keep everybody out and
Right.
trying to grow the community and, make it welcome. So that was the only reason I brought it up.
Yeah. Isaac, you want to address?
The pressure in Greystone is an ongoing problem. We supply the mandatory 20 pounds at the meter. Some of those houses set up higher and don't have that. And there's a few houses in there that have those static pumps to correct that, so they have water. The subdivision probably wasn't as well thought out as it should have been, because it does set at the top of our pressure plane.
Well, it was kind of weird too, because the city forced them to put in an 8-inch line, and they only supplied with 6-inch line, so it didn't make much sense. But that drops the pressure right there.
Well, and that's state mandated too. The health department won't, it's, even I fought with them to put a 2-inch.
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're still playing catch up to it.
Yeah.
With all the big players.
The
That's the
pressure
question.
test on the sewer, typically we inspect under the slab, and the sewer's supposed to be put in deep enough that nothing should hit it. So that may have been a plumbing error too,
Right.
and missed by the inspector. The
Well,
work
it's-
down there on McKnight Street, we did that at night to not hinder as many folks, and you can't not
Oh, I
interrupt
understand why
somebody's
you
service.
did it, but if I would've known, I wouldn't have taken a shower at that time. I would've known, I was like, hey, let me get a shower before that. Some
Yeah.
water. It was just kind of an odd situation.
Yeah.
Well, the boost ride, 'cause I looked at that too, I can go out and spend $450 and boost my pressure up on my house, but, if you're having every person in town doing that, you're talking big money. I know other communities put in booster pump to their own, they don't mind.
Yeah.
Right, when it comes out of the
Yeah,
water
and-
tower, you can boost up that pressure right there.
And we would like to have better pressure and more water supply down there, but that's a big project to fund.
Well, it's understandable, but it
Is
also
it-
needs to be planned if you're gonna, if
Yeah.
that's something you wanna do, it needs to get on the schedule. I mean, you can't just,
So-
well, the state only requires 20 pounds. 20 pounds
Is
is
not
much.
a lot of
much.
pressure, no.
I will tell you, sir, though, the Water and Sewer Commission have a meeting every month, and I don't think I've been there to a meeting that this hasn't been discussed. So, basically, I say that to tell you that it's not something that they know about and they're ignoring, or that they know about and they're necessarily kicking the can down the road. They've discussed, taking an abandoned property for a new tank site. They've discussed some cost sharing, trying to get extra size pipe down that direction. I say that to let you know that this isn't something that's forgotten.
No, I know that,
It's
but
something that they're very well aware of, and they are working within their means to try to get it corrected. It's just, it's a big project.
Well, I understand that, but I guess I'm kinda looking for a little, if there's enough information, I'm gonna bite the bullet and buy a pulp for myself. Everybody else can deal with it.
We are in a target-rich environment right now. We have discussed the lines in that direction. We've discussed the water tanks, but looming over us is a big ticket to get connected to the city of Fayetteville. Also, we've got ongoing problems with infiltration. And where the focus is now is trying to find and eliminate as much infiltration on the sewer lines, yard lines, and city lines both, to help lower the final bill, what we're all going to be charged to be on the system. And he's right, he's accurate, it's something we're aware of, but I know it doesn't help to hear it, but we are in a target-rich environment. The next 20 months,
Yes.
but eventually, like some of the paving that was discussed and long-time frustrations, eventually we will get there, but it's going to have to be measured and timed out. And I know that's hard to hear because you were here, what, a year ago, 12 months ago? expressing
close
all-
to it.
You know, it's just trying to keep pace with making sure
Yeah.
that it's not falling off the wayside.
Well, and I hate to say it, but it might be a very prudent maneuver to go ahead and invest in a static pump.
Well,
Because it's going to be a while before anything can be done down there. And is that rock? Is that,
Up
Is that-
behind us it is, because it wasn't for that.
so that's part of the inclement territory we talked about, Isaac?
Yeah,
So,
That's a lot of expense to take for the rock.
yeah.
Get it through there.
So they blasted some of that in down past you. The entire line was dynamited in because of
Well, again, I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
I-
ruffle feathers and.
No, I want you to
I know a lot
be
more than
as
I did.
aware of what's going on as you
Again, I
can be.
make a good choice, and that's probably what I'm gonna do, because it eliminates a lot of issues, and it'll catch up, you know. I don't have a
Well,
problem.
that's part of the telemetry that we put in is to better see our tank, and we can push our tank to the limit. So when it kicks off, it's nearly an overflow level, and it don't drop very far before it starts filling again. We did that on the other side of town and alleviated some problems on the end of the Keene, and we're hoping that helps down here. Now, 1 foot water is not a whole lot of pressure in the grand scheme of things, but at this time it's the best we can do. Yeah.
This whole system is,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, you kinda can't wait to do what you do.
Yeah, yeah.
I get it.
All right, any other questions for Greg? No? All right. Anyone else want to address the council tonight? No? All right, so we'll close our public forum and move into our business reports.
Mayor, can I interrupt real quick? We forgot on the agenda, to approve the public hearing minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, we will put that under. Do we have a motion to move that to new business?
A second.
Okay. All those in favor of that, say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. All right. Move that to item 3 of new business, if you would.
Okay.
And thank you for that. Planning Commission report. Walter, do you have anything for us tonight?
Not a whole lot. Happy to be at a full commission, finally, first time since I've been on. It doesn't look like we don't have anything for an agenda. This upcoming Thursday is our meeting, so it'll be a good chance for us to go over subdivision rules, make sure we're up to speed on that, because I think there's a possible pending one coming through. And, well, we're looking to maybe get Jeff Hawkins from Regional Planning down, maybe January, probably February, to just get our new members up to speed and refresh us a little bit as well. And that's about it. Same as usual, same ongoing business, trying to go through our books, get those up to date. And that's about all.
Any questions for Walter?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, And Jennifer Sims sent me a text that she was feeling well and that she would spare the share. So, a little update from the Economic Beautification Committee. The Parade of Lights was a great success. She reports there were 4 vendors. An estimated 300 plus from the community came out to watch the parade or participate. We had both West Fork and Greenland schools participating. Special thanks to Dunright for the help with our Christmas tree. They are planning a short debrief on December 18th at 6 o'clock to prepare for next year. The Small Town Big Lights contest has 6 entrants so far. And she thanks the sponsors for that, which is Arvest, Bank of Fayetteville, and Newland Realty. The lights will be judged around 6:30 Tuesday, December 18th. Any questions about that? Okay. John's not here. We have his report in the packet. Are there any questions on that? Take your silence as a no. Okay. Pauletta, would you give us our court report? I see that you've got your spreadsheet put back together.
I did, after I destroyed it.
Put some numbers on last month for the mayor, added a few flourishes, and went back to do my report this month and realized I'd wiped out everything from May of this year. So Christy had everything in her council packets and sent them over to me, and I rebuilt everything. So now I think we're back up to speed. This month, we passed the $500,000 mark on collections. We haven't been there for a couple years. That was kind of nice to see. Last year at this time, we were at $417,000. This year, we're at $513,000 in collections. We had 412 new ticket citations entered this month. Having that extra person in the office is nice because we can address those time pays and get some notices out to folks that haven't paid in a while. And then when they ignore our notice to pay, then we go ahead and issue the warrants for failure to appear. Or not failure to appear, but fail to pay. And that's what you see there in that 167 mark. Over last month is 50 higher than we were last month. So we did a few of those. 226 total trials were held this month. Sorry, not this year, this month. Of those folks, we convicted 64. And then there's some FTAs there also that were added into that number above the 167. And then there were 3 actual civil trials scheduled. We do our civil trials once a month on Monday afternoons. And then arraignments, there are 247 new filings in the arraignments. Or actually, those were filed early, I apologize. New filings are 412. The 247 are the arraignments that were held from the month prior that were scheduled, so we did those. Out of everything we collected this month, the city is keeping about $17,000 between the court, the police, and the city offices out of our $43,000 that we collected. Anybody, any questions? I throw enough numbers at you, everybody's confused. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining all those. Chief Nelson, I have to say, sir, you are a man after my own heart. The graphs.
You like that?
Oh,
and I wish he would have stayed just a couple minutes because I'm going to explain some of these graphs.
I know, and I started.
You knew that was coming.
I started to bring it up, but I didn't want to steal your thunder because you have done such good work with this. And yeah, Chief Myers here. So, just real quick before we get started, on the graphs, there's a total calls for the year. Was that there prior, or is that a new number?
I believe that's a new number.
I believe
it's something
it is
that has just been told.
I hope it is, because I specifically sat down and totaled all of those
He took
fire
the total
calls
on the top.
before.
I asked him, I said, I don't remember that being on there every time. So, oh, yeah, it's on there
He
every
told
time.
me that he had added that in there.
Yeah.
He's a
that's
sharp- he's a
something
sharp
added in
guy.
there now,
Yes.
so.
He is.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
We had 323 service calls, which is down, which we're happy about. We took 30 reports, 100 citations. We made, I believe, 9 arrests, and we served 124 warrants. Our total calls for the year through November were 3,898 calls. Now, I want to go over training hours. I do that once a year. We took 15, as a department, we took 1,500 hours worth of training. Of course, that helps out that I was in that 3-month class and Ryder went to the academy. But we had several officers over 150 hours worth of training. What I also wanted to point out is we had 1,854 training hours that we provided to other departments through the Alena Trading Academy, and that's not something that they're compensated for. That's something they take their own time to teach these other departments and to go out. That's something that I wanted to bring up because I'm proud of them for wanting to do that and wanting to have a better relationship with other departments and doing those type of things. The school resource officer report, we had 15 incidents, we had 8 juvenile warnings, and I believe, I may be wrong, we had two arrests? 2 juvenile felonies, but 2 charges, but it may not have been the juveniles that were charged. Any of the other stuff, we did get a DWI passing the school bus at .3, so that would have been about 3 times the legal limit, about 3 o'clock. Any of the other stuff is on there. I'm not going to get on into all of it. Now I want to go on to citations and warnings. This is my favorite. We have issued just about as many citations as we have warnings. The number 1 citation that we have issued this year is no liability insurance, with speeding coming in a second. I think a speed trap as well. Is that about 70% of the tickets that you write?
Funding, though, it's all about money.
The money and the funding. We wrote 13% of our tickets were speed, but if you look at warnings, another 13% were warnings. So we're warning as much as we're writing. So I don't believe the speed trap would work in West Fork. If you look at when we were the busiest, last year it was Tuesday. This year we've had a flip-flop, and Mondays and Saturdays are our busiest times, and it's usually between 5 and 6 and 6 and 7. Monday, I have no idea why it was the busiest on Mondays. Saturday, I can understand that's pretty par for the course. Do I have any questions? It's late out there, so.
Yeah.
There ain't no sense you coming.
It's almost true, right?
We don't want to bog it down because Christy gets mad at me if I did it every month. But towards the end, I like to show everybody. So. Yeah.
Looks good. I do wish you would have stayed though to see that, and I started to bring up how many warnings you guys had issued versus citations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've said it several times. If you guys fail, Justin, it's in trying to be too nice to the citizens. And I appreciate that. Don't take that wrong. I do appreciate that. So.
It's even with the
So do the
students.
citizens.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I hope they do. I hope
They do.
All right.
Any question for John? Thank you, sir.
Nice job.
All right, Isaac?
I don't have much other than my minutes that you have in your packet. One thing that we did come out of our meeting with is a recommendation to go ahead and purchase a sewer inspection camera that we can use here. Currently, we are getting Goodwin to come and TV some of our lines. It costs us about $3.50 a foot. So we kicked it around, and in the grand scheme of things, if we can do that ourselves, spend a little money on the front end, it's probably going to save us a whole lot of money on the back end. So I've been working on trying to get some quotes and stuff together, and try to get that purchased by the end of the year with the remainder of my budget.
Have you got any quotes at all?
I do. The one I got today is actually from the same company that we buy our digital meters from, out of Searcy, and it's about $8,700 to get a 250-foot camera with a self-leveling camera head. So if you turn a corner, it don't flip-flop over. And so, and it's pretty durable camera. Some of them are, like rigid cameras, are 12 to 15,000 to get a camera. So we're trying to stay.
Technically, you should be able to get to anywhere with that, though, from
Yes.
one end to the other.
Yes, typically from manhole to manhole is no more than 350 feet. So 250 foot, we ought to be able to go from either end and capture the whole thing. So that was our big thing, and sewer was our main topic, and I'll let Nick get up here and lay it all out on the table for you guys. But if y'all have any questions for me on anything else.
Our smallest main's 6 inch,
Yes.
and they work fine in the 6.
Yeah, it comes with skids that'll go on the camera head. They'll hold it up out of the flow, so it'll you can scoot it through there.
I can see where that would save quite a bit of money.
Yeah, we also kicked around a line washing machine, and just so happens that Fayetteville is putting one up on the auction block, and I'm not sure if that's going to fall through or not. I know Elkins is there pursuing that hard, so that may get out of our budget range pretty quick. They may think they're going to have a few more funds than I've got.
Well, it might be helpful to explain again why.
Why for the washing machine? Well, I mean, it's easier to visually inspect with a camera if the line's clean of debris and grease and paper and whatever else goes down through there, gravel and anything like that. They do work better hand in hand. But I think with the push camera, we can go ahead and get that and start doing the ones we can. It'll do service lines, so we can start TV and people's service lines, because that's going to be a big contributor to some of our infiltration. Is somebody got a big tree growing on their sewer service, and it's not causing them a lick of problem because they're flushing the toilet and it's disappearing, but so is all the water that's in their yard is disappearing as well. And that'll be, we'll just have to take on that responsibility to try to fix that. It's going to be hard to knock on a door and tell somebody that they need to fix their sewer service if it's not causing them a problem. So we will have to repair a few sewer services here and there. We got some sewer mains. Nick and I have been working on a couple of line segments that we're going to replace. I think you've about got them drawn up. So hopefully after the first of the year we can start working on those and get those knocked out. One of them is in a low line area on Ann Street that we know we're getting some water in there. So it'll be good to get that out. And of course, every time we replace the line segment, I'm going to stick the flow meter back in there and compare data to see what, if any, we've caught or if we're still chasing. So.
Any questions for Isaac?
I'm going to let Nick have it.
So, Nick, go ahead and come up here. We did get our feedback from the state of Arkansas concerning suggested rates and timing. We have a timeline established, how much money they're going to forgive in the bonds to move forward. Nick can explain all that to you guys.
Yeah, so back last month, we met with ANRC. They came up here to talk to us, and then the next week they put it through their commission and approved it. But they're giving us an $8 million loan, $8 million funding package, I'll call it, with $3.5 million will be loan at I think a 3% interest rate, and then the remaining $4.5 million will be principal forgiveness. So about 56% grant money essentially, which is which is a very good chunk there to help us pay for this. And then they also offered up another $400,000 loan using the first funding package is revolving loan fund, so federal funding. The second loan they offered up was a $400,000 loan for using state funds for easement acquisition, because the federal funds can't actually pay for the lands. They can pay for drawing up the easement documents and negotiating and all that, but they can actually pay for land. So they offered that loan up. It's not as good a terms. I think it's at a 3.9% interest rate. It's got a closing fee of 3% right off the bat, so it's really a $412,000 loan. But overall, we're looking at a $8.4 million package, and that covers everything. That covers engineering, surveying, easements, construction. It covers the demolition of the plant and closing that out too, getting us connected to Fayetteville, and includes some contingency in there too. We've got a 10% contingency in there for anything that may come up along the way. So it's not a it's going to run over and we don't know what we're going to do. We've got some cushion built in there like we did with the sewer rehab funding in case something does come up. So that got approved. I know the ANRC sent a memorandum of agreement and MOA to the city recently. And what that does is that maps out, what we did when we met with them is mapped out dates. Now we actually have hard dates that we're going to commit to, that I'm going to be held to now as well to make sure things get done, because there's some provisions in that MOA that say you got to hit these dates. But what we're basically looking at, I won't go through all the dates, but we're looking to finish our plans, have them approved by the state, ready to go to bid by like mid-June. And then we're looking to start construction October, 1st of October this year, and have construction complete by October of 2020. So,
and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but the council will have to approve a rate hike package in January. Or
the final, the draft, and part of this MOA, and I'm glad you brought it up, we'll have to do a proposed rate ordinance and a sewer use ordinance, because we'll have to amend the city sewer ordinance to incorporate requirements of the contract with Fayetteville. So we'll have to have a draft version of both of those done by the end of January, and then the final versions will go into effect. We need to have those enacted by end of March in 2019. So those are we've got some big steps to make here in the next month, and then a couple months after that. So,
and Nick, did you see Christie's draft that she kind of just mocked up for us to have something to look at? I
saw one last week at the committee meeting.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's the same one we're looking at. I mean, I guess the bad news is rates do need to go up to help pay for this. The good news is we don't have to do it all at once. This doesn't have to be. We don't have to be at the final rate right away. That's something we can step up over. I think we're looking at a period of 2 years right now, or maybe a little longer. 2 years.
And so, I want everyone on the council to understand this. The state is giving us $4.5 million. They're loaning us another, basically $4 million. They set the rate. Okay, they basically said, we're giving you this money so that you can expand your sewer, but here's what your rate's going to be so that you can pay it back. Nick didn't have a hand in it.
No.
I didn't have a hand in it. They basically said, here is your rate, and they gave us it was a great set of worksheets on how they came to that point. I couldn't read it, but
it's a little hard to decipher.
But it was, I want you guys to know that, because the rates are going up, they're going up big. But I want you to know that we did not have a hand, we had no say in what that final rate was going to be. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no. Well, building off that, I mean, what we've talked about, I know Isaac brought it up too, and you did as well, just a big part of the cost that's driving the rates is the cost to send it to Fayetteville, the treatment cost per 1,000 gallons. And with when you have I&I, you're paying for every drop of water that comes through that system. They'll have a meter at the pump station that measures every gallon of water that comes to them. So, you know, that's why while we're doing this work, we're still focused on reducing that I&I as much as possible, because the less we send to Fayetteville, the lower that cost is. And while ANRC hasn't said they'll back off this rate, they have at least said, you know, hey, if we get up here and you start showing that you don't have this much gallons going to Fayetteville and you're showing you've got a reserve built up, we could potentially look at bringing those back down in line as well. So that's something we're keeping our eye on for sure. You know, and Isaac's been doing a great job. I mean, he's very proactive with, you know, even though we did a lot of rehab work, you know, we finished last year, we touched about 10% of the system. You know, when you look at, you know, footage of lines, I mean, we did touch a lot of the manholes, but just in terms of feet of pipe, we did about 7,000 feet of pipe, and we got over 75,000 foot total. So we grabbed the low-hanging fruit, as I called it, and there's going to be others out there. I mean, we've definitely made a dent in the I&I for sure. I think I showed y'all the graph before, where, you know, 2-inch rain, we're showing almost 2 million gallons less in inflow coming in the system, which that's a lot of money, but we can keep improving upon that. I mean, the mayor's tasked us up with, we've got a target in mind of how many gallons we want to be sending to Fayetteville, and we're above that right now. We've brought it down. We're going to be sending them less than last year, which is good. But I want to keep seeing that going down as we're working towards getting connected to Fayetteville.
So one of my questions to Nick was, how did we spend $2 million and we're still sending this huge amount of liquid of I&I to the sewer plant? And he said, well, while we fixed a lot of those pipes, we fixed a lot of leaks, we still have water getting in places, but it can't get out now. So in the past, we had water getting in, but some of it was getting out before it got to the sewer plant. Unfortunately, Nick did a good job of containing that and a bad job of preventing it from getting in.
Yeah.
But that, I was having a hard time understanding that, and that's that makes sense. I understand it. I get it. But that commission, Nick and Isaac, they are focused on getting that infiltration under control.
One of the other things you mentioned is that with some contingency, hopefully at the end of the process, we'll have money left that will roll right back into the meeting.
Yes, and that was one thing they brought up when we met with them last month is by the end of the month I got to turn in a facility plan report, which is basically a PER, preliminary engineering report, and the environmental document. And they told me to add a section to address the fact that there's still additional rehab needed in the city, identify just some general areas, and assign a general dollar value. That way, if we get all the construction work completed and there's still money left in the funding package, we can take that and apply it directly into doing more rehab when we've got that money available, because it's already included in the report of what's been approved. So they want to help us out there too. You know, it's.
And so with the metering that you're doing different now, and we're trying to find the areas in a better way than we've been able to do in the past. Hopefully we identify, same with the streets, the order of merit list, what makes sense to go chase, and step at a time.
And I will say that the fact that you've narrowed that down, so they have the city split into quadrants, and they've narrowed it down to where our biggest issues are. I mean, they've made a lot of headway. There's just still there's a ton of work to go.
Yeah, I mean, like West Fork Acres and that side of town, I mean, we saw a significant reduction overall. It was the older part of the system where we saw that, we almost did too good a job sealing it up, because now it has nowhere to go except down to the plant, which is a good thing. That
overall,
ADUQ would appreciate that, and they're, I'm sure they're thankful for that.
And Nick, could you give a little bit of history too? So we had 3 plans that we looked at. I'm not sure when that was, when all of this originally started.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of, because once we get rates out people are gonna have questions, and I want you guys to be as aware of the situation as possible. But, and I wasn't aware of some of it. I gave an interview in the Democrat Gazette the other day, and then when I read the article, I didn't realize that we'd been fined back in 2014. So I didn't know the full scope of things. So if you would, kind of go back to how outdated our plan is, obsolete, and the fact that we had 3 options on the table.
Yeah, I mean, the plant, the current plant's designed for, it was built in the 70s, designed for 100,000 gallon a day flow, which could support a population roughly, maybe 1,000 to 1,500 people. Our average daily flow, after all the I&I work, which is a good number that we're at, is about 125,000 a day, 130,000 a day. And, obviously we've got to do something different. The report we're turning in, the environmental document, we're required to look at alternatives. We have to look at up to 3. Obviously, we've got an alternative to connect to Fayetteville. Just pump it there and let them treat it. But we also looked at 2 alternatives. We did look at building a new plant for West Fork. We looked at building one right next to where the current one is. We'd have to move it a little over and do some improvements to get it out of the floodplain, because the current plant is in the floodplain. And then we looked at another option to build a plant further north to capture future development about 2.5 miles north of here, and build a gravity line up to that. But I know the question will come up. We've got the cost numbers. ANRC makes us go through a full 20-year life cycle analysis, not only looking at capital costs, but operating, maintaining the system, the total all-in cost. And the connection to Fayetteville still came out quite a bit less than the other 2. Just especially right now with the water quality standards, and we're in the Beaver Lake watershed. There's a lot of eyes on that. When permits are renewed for wastewater plants, I just went through the process up north in Decatur. They're not holding limits the same. They're bringing them down even lower and lower and lower.
The standards are changing still.
Yeah, the standards are getting. They're holding everyone to a higher standard, including Fayetteville, but they can meet those standards and beat them. And and it's tough for small communities to keep up with those standards. It's just having the funding to put in a treatment system with that kind of technology is, the one I'm doing in Decatur, we're putting in membranes there to try to meet the water quality standards, because it's going into Oklahoma and everyone's looking at that too. And they're spending $10 million up there on a treatment plant just to meet those standards. So, I know it's a big investment, but the alternative we're moving forward with is going to be the best long term too for the city. And I think there's opportunity to keep managing the I&I and bringing that down, and that's going to be great for the city.
So the number everybody's waiting for, we're looking at a minimum sewer bill of $45. That's besides the water bill. So it'd be a minimum sewer charge, 45 plus the water bill, and the sewer rate would be at $15.75 per 1,000 gallons.
After that, 2,000.
So that's for the first 2,000 gallons at $45. That's what the state has given us, and like Nick said, if we can get some of this I&I taken care of, if the project comes in under, at that point, we have to demand that the state doesn't make us raise to that full amount. And they have, when I tried to get a straight answer on that, they did not give me one. They basically said we will consider it at that time. Because I wanted to know, hey, if we do our part, cut this I&I down, do we have to take all of these rate hikes? And like I said, I don't feel like he gave me a straight answer. He kind of tried to push me off and say, we'll address it at that time.
So this is the beginning of it, 45?
That is the rate that they said we'll have to be at,
We have to
at
be.
the end of 2 years.
Yeah, well, we can be, the final rate needs to be in place when we start paying the loan back, which would be 1 year after construction. But I think we're looking to go ahead and get, because the minute we start pumping to Fayetteville, when construction's complete, that's when the bills will start going up. But that is the final number, so I think right now the minimum's 15, is it 1575 or 1550?
Something like that.
So that minimum will need to incrementally go up to the 45, and then the per thousand charge is at like 750-ish. So that will need to increment up as well to 1550 or whatever. So it is. I know it's a big number.
When you look at and I've made mention of this to Nick, Isaac, to the Water Commission. What irritates me about this is if you do the math on that, that's $22 per thousand for the first 2,000 gallons, $22.50 per thousand, and then it drops. Well, who is it hitting with the first 2,000 gallons? It's hitting all the retired people in this town who have already paid for a sewer system once, and that aggravates me tremendously. But the state knows that if they don't hit them, we're not going to hit our numbers. We're not going to have the funds to pay for our sewer. So there's a lot of aggravation in this.
Well,
but we don't.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I'm just saying our hands are tied. This is where we're at.
Placing it in context, understanding that it's publicizing, letting people know the state is making us do this. Again, 16 quarters ago, we had an ADQ cease and desist because of the press activity on the White River. We didn't get here
That's very true.
by accident.
Very true.
We got here as a result of publicized events, and a lot of them were worthwhile. Some of them were a little frivolous. But we got here because we came to ADQ's attention, because we were brought to their attention. And there was nothing we could do about this. We had to do something. This is the best alternative.
And quite frankly, we need to do something with our current system. We need something better in place. It's going to cost a lot of money to do it now. It should have been started years ago.
I was gonna say, it didn't get this way overnight.
And I will tell you that part of that rate includes the state. The state's not going to let us go forward like the city did in the past. That rate includes, is it the 10% depreciation fund?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had that in there. Yeah,
so there's a depreciation fund. The idea being that when this new line gets to capacity, we will have a fund in place to help, I guess, expand it in the future. So the council that sits here in 2048 shouldn't have this same kind of rate increase that we're talking about tonight.
But also, it's been a long time. How long? There were no rate increases in water and sewer.
True.
How long? And
so now we're playing catch up.
That's
right. And with incremental increases, you can have a little money to roll back. Like we were talking about trash away some time ago. Rate increases are a part of life. You've got to buy equipment. You need to provide training. You need to keep your equipment up. You need to maintain. It's just a part of life. And I think that's part of our problems. For a long time, we enjoyed no increases, but it got us behind the power curve.
Are there any questions for Nick? Do you have anything else for me?
No, we're out of the gates and running fast, and we're getting emails from A&RC reminding us of our deadlines,
and so you'll kind of look over that proposal that Christie has came up with, make sure that it's going to meet the requirements of the state, so that we can look at it as a council in January.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the plan for sure.
And kind of what Christie's put together is it's roughly $7 every 6 months. Is that how it's kind of structured?
Four increases.
4 increases, roughly $7 per increase over the next 2 years.
How many sewer customers do we have?
We have 750.
750 roughly. Somewhere usually between 740 and 750 on the bills. And
We hope to pick up Homestead when the line goes past them, the subdivision between here and Greenwood, which will give us another 50.
they're
Plus.
57 right now. They'll probably be close to 60, and they can build out to 80.
The
up there.
unfortunate thing for us is that the state has already taken that into consideration with the rates. They're expecting us to pick them up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked earlier about like, you know, looking at the service lines with the camera, you know, if somebody's got a tree growing or whatever. I mean, I'm assuming that you've already done visual inspections, like walking and seeing if there's like I mean, I know, I've seen clean outs that were cut off with a lawnmower and they're, you know, standing open and water's running in them, and you think that's not a lot. But if you got 8 or 10 of those in an area and it rains real hard, that may be a boatload of water coming in there. So I'm assuming that you're.
We have started that and done most of Basin 2 down here where we're having our issues down Ann Street South. We have inspected most of those cleanouts down through there and not found a lot.
There's, I think you've located some over on Clifton, have you not?
I think he's just saying that.
I'm not.
What?
There's some pumps over on Clifton.
Pump system seems to be our nemesis because the first time a plumber gets
Have you
out-
checked yours?
Have I checked what?
She's not on one.
The lights are on, but what's going on now?
Isaac checked for you.
The first time the lid comes off one of those pump canisters, the bolts are broke, and then the lid is trashed, and they find whatever they can put on the top of it. Piece of plywood, piece of metal, big rock, whatever they can find, and then it's, when the water hits the ground and run in there, it pumps right out to the sewer, so. So we have identified several of those, and the big one is at the school building over here by the cafeteria. And we're still working with them to try to get that correct.
Yeah. To answer your question, they've been all over town.
Well, now, I just know it's a lot. If you got 750
When it-
customers, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's
When
right.
it's raining, we're usually popping manholes and trying to track it down that way. And hopefully the camera will do it, will do that for us.
A lot of footwork, though.
It is.
Well, one of the things we've talked about is our super user, the school. We need to give notice, or at least make some formal communication, that going forward, it's gonna get really expensive for them. So,
And we have identified that they do have some inflow.
so at some point, I guess,
I'm hoping Nick and I can have something together for their next month's,
school board meeting, to let them know that it would be prudent to set aside some funds to eliminate their problem.
Right.
Because it's only gonna cost the district money. It's not something the city, we're all, us 750 other users.
Well, we'll be
should
paying
stand
part
that
of it,
cost.
yeah.
Right.
That's right. Any other questions for Nick? So will you be here with us next month?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're stuck with me.
If you wouldn't.
That's the trick.
And so will we have some kind of like a public hearing where people can come in and ask questions besides just city council?
Yes, and then Nick will be leading some of that, but, so just to.
Community center?
Yes, and I've asked Nick if he would bring all 3 proposals that were looked at so that the public can see exactly how the state came to the conclusions it came to. I even asked him if he would blow up the convoluted chart that the state sent us on how they arrived at these numbers. Just so the public can, I want them to see everything, I want them to know what's going on.
And maybe we could even send it out on their water bill, that that's gonna be a meeting for that.
Yeah, we will.
That'd be a good way to do it. Yeah, we're required with when we get turn in draft reports this month and then get comments and then when we finalize, we'll have a we're required to have a formal public hearing by probably be February, March timeframe. I'm guessing. Might bleed over into April, but we'll have a formal public hearing where I'll present all the alternatives, and
Then you'll
I'll be
need,
there ready to get shot and
escort
thrown at
on
me.
the way out. Yeah, you're gonna need security.
Could be, I will say that, for 2 years we've been talking about it. I know for 2 years, I've been here for 2 years, we've been talking about it. Christy and Isaac and I, we sat down months ago and figured it was gonna be close to $40, if not more. So, I'm not saying that people don't know about it, but I'm also saying we have been as open as we could be prior to getting actual numbers, so.
We will have to have a separate public hearing for the ordinance to increase rates also, so we'll have multiple public hearings.
Okay. Multiple opportunities to.
So the first one used to come on next month, the first notice.
So, next month is a draft that we'll approve, a rate hike draft, and then I think it's after that we'll have the public meetings, is that correct?
I would
We'll
think
try to
so.
have one before the February meeting, sometime between the January and February meeting, so that the ordinance, the rate increase ordinance can actually be voted on at the February meeting.
Does that sound good to everyone?
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Nate? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right, Chad, how much do you have?
Thanks, Chad. No question.
I don't have anything extra, so.
We have a new attorney here tonight, and we're
Yeah.
an hour in.
Yeah.
Trying to hit A50.
I don't have anything extra than what's in your packet or on the agenda later. So, if you got any questions, I can come up with some stuff. Nothing? Okay.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, Chief.
That was a record, I think. And I guess I made Travis feel so bad about it. He said, where did the numbers come up with? I said, he'd have said and add each one up. I mean, you know, so.
You tell it.
Help you next year,
I'm
you know?
impressed. That's above and beyond that. You recognize that.
You'd like to had it a month ago.
I would have,
you know.
but.
Really, all I got is just to thank the kids, you know, Colton, his group, the Explorers, and their dads for the float they built. If you didn't get a chance to see it, it was amazing. They did a bang up job on that thing. I think they all missed their calling. They should have been float builders from Macy's or something, you know, Mardi Gras. But and I didn't have these numbers for you, Mayor. I'm sorry at our meeting, but we actually ended up giving out 58 coats this year to local residents. I mean, that's just right here in West Fork. I think 2 went to Greenwood. So, you know, that's 58 more people that are stay warm this winter. So after that, we take them and we donate them to Life Source up in Fayetteville. We have left. They help out all, I mean, bukus. We ended up actually giving them like 20 pairs of gloves, 16 scarves, 73 hats, 65 coats, 10 shirts, what we had left over. So the response this year was great. So, and Officer Goggins, I don't know how many trips he made down to the fire station to get coats for kids from the school, several, digging through piles of coats this big to find 2 or 3 of a certain size. So I know he was a big help in that this year. Other than that, that's really all I've got this month.
Any questions for Chief Myers?
Thanks for the dinner y'all planned.
Oh, no problem. It's our
It was
pleasure.
wonderful. If everybody that strawberry rhubarb pie.
I don't have anything extra either. The budgets are still looking really good. We're gonna be $200,000 plus under budget for the year as a city as a whole, so we'll have final numbers on that in January, but a good indication of that in a few weeks. Any specific questions?
No?
Mayor, since the next thing's the budget, can I put in my 2 cents worth before the council starts discussing theirs?
Absolutely.
I've had one request to change on the library's budget.
The Friends of the Library donated some money this year specifically for the children's library supplies. And they are going to have approximately $345 left that they haven't spent. So I would like to change their expense line item next year. It's $1,000 now. I'd like to change that to $350 so that they're not losing that donation that they received. It doesn't go back into the general fund. They can keep that on their line item. So just,
Does anyone have any questions?
you don't have to do a motion now. You guys have other discussion about it, but just when we do the motion, we'll want to add that as.
Add that into it. Don't let me forget. All right. So before we move into new business, I would like to take just a minute, instead of doing it during the mayor's comments, and say thanks to the police department, parks department, fire department, everyone else who helped with the parade that we had. I don't know how many of you guys made it, but it was good. It was a lot bigger than I expected the first year to be.
A lot of folks.
But a lot of folks. And I think everyone enjoyed it for the most part. I've only heard one person who was unhappy with it. But luckily for me, I've gained a new nickname out of it. So, and I talked to Goggins. Goggins deals with a lot of rough guys, and he said I could get some street cred with my nickname. So,
What, maybe Cooter?
no, I am now Mayor Mob Rule Cottle. So,
True story, I saw it on Facebook.
right.
It's the truth.
But in all seriousness, the city was not a part of the Christmas parade per se. That was a different committee that got together and put that together. The city obviously, I don't know if you noticed, but we had almost every police car had a wife in it. I thought that was cool. I mean, it was all of the departments were out in force, either helping with that in some way or participating. And I like to see that. I've said it before, but our city employees are dedicated to the city far past any salaries we'll ever pay you guys or the other employees. And so I appreciate that greatly.
And I was impressed with how many people actually showed up.
Yeah.
For the parade. There was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people. So, all right. So moving into new business, resolution 2018-04 to approve the 2019 budget. We had a budget meeting. Anyone know the date of that meeting? A couple weeks ago we met. Looked at a draft of the budget. I think we came to a resolution on that. So if there's not any discussion, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the budget.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any discussion before we take a vote?
I just want to say they did a great job of working together as a group to put that together.
They did.
The city employees, the department heads got together and they met and gave and. It hasn't always been that easy. No, it has not. Good job.
Joe, did your motion include the adjustment that Christie?
That's why I asked about it. I thought that was imminent. Let me amend that motion.
Please.
The motion, we make the line item budget adjustment for the library, Friends of the Library donation, and approve the upcoming year's budget.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
All those opposed say no.
What are we doing? Sorry. We're approving the budget now, or just approving the motion to?
Approving the budget.
Approving the budget.
With the adjustment for the Friends of the Library.
Approving the budget, 2019 budget? No.
So,
roll call vote?
Sure. Let's do a roll call. Misty Cottle?
No.
Anita?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kira?
Don?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
All right. So it's 7-8, motion carries. Next item of new business is recommendations to the Parks Commission for Anthony Foster and Jordan Smith. Chad, do you want to say anything?
I just want to point out it's Parks Committee.
Committee,
not
sorry.
Commission.
Thank you.
We're no longer a commission.
Commission's back.
So, other than that, I don't. They're both great guys. They came and spoke to our committee, and they're enthusiastic, and they've got some good ideas, and I look forward to serving with y'all's group. So, that's all I got.
And I'll be honest, I don't know these guys by name, so.
Any questions from the council? They come recommended from the Parks Committee. They have 2 openings, so the open field opening. Do we have a motion? Motion and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right. Next item of business, what was that, Ann? I almost forgot.
Public hearing minutes.
Yes, so to approve the public hearing minutes from closing the street down here for the sidewalk. Yes. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion before we take a vote on that? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. And so with that, Isaac, we'll get with the railroad and start moving forward as far as pulling up that street and getting them to.
Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as we barricade that off, where it's no longer passable, they can go ahead and move forward with theirs.
Okay, perfect. So you'll reach out to him and let him know.
Yes.
Okay, great. The last thing we have is mayor's comments. Kind of a rough mayor's comments. So, Anita did not run for re-election. Anita has resigned from the council, and I wasn't aware that she had to.
I didn't know that either, so.
But how long have you been here, Nina? 10 years.
For Jones and we passed 2008, yeah.
Feel like one.
Some years ago. I just have to say, going out right now, it's a good time. I feel like the city's in good hands with the people we've got on staff. I feel like we have a really steady mayor. I've never seen the city more proactive in the 10 years I've been on this. So I don't feel like anyone has a hidden agenda, that everybody's heart's in the right place with the city council. So it's a good time to step down and help somebody in my ward step up, bring in new ideas, new vision. It's not that I don't have a vision, but I feel like I want to pursue some other aspects, like I'm going to hang out with Ivy and with the water committee. Try to go to some planning commissions, not that I want to, I just want to go and support some of the committees that have kind of needed some more support. I'm not going anywhere, I'm still here, so. But I appreciate everybody. It's been, some years were a lot more fun than others. Some years were turmoil. I've seen a lot of good people going from some negative. Quite a few more than I want to talk about. So it's just been a good 10 years, and I'm not going anywhere, and I hope to come and to a meeting and see everybody around. So don't forget me. So that's kind of hard to do. So. But I appreciate it, and thanks so much for the card. Now I am going to miss everybody. It's kind of sad, but I'm ready.
It is sad, but I think that's the beauty of our political system, if you will. There's a lot of countries, there's a lot of places around the world where people would never step off of the committee. And that's, I don't know, to me that's part of what gives our country the power and the prestige that we have, is that we have people that are willing to come and give a decade of their time, and then step down and start looking for other areas to serve. I remember the first time I met you, Anita, and I probably shouldn't even bring this up, but It was at a-
Sometimes my first impression.
It was a water and sewer meeting, and you were ugly.
Not that he still carries that on his shoulder.
No, but we had a heated debate, you probably don't even remember it, but I do, because I've never met you before. But I will tell you that you are one of the most considerate people I've ever met. I really feel like you come to this meeting every month with an open mind, that you're not, you said it earlier, you don't have an agenda, you come in here looking to serve this city, and I think you've done a wonderful job of that, and it's been a pleasure to set up your
I apologize for our first meeting.
I may be the one that should apologize.
No, I have to ask, who was right?
Me, of course. I was not prejudiced, no. But it's just been a pleasure, and I just feel like West Fork's heading in the right direction. I'm proud of West Fork. I've been here all my life. I've seen some good changes. I feel like, it's growing, and I just feel like we're heading in a good direction. It's a good time to step out. And like I said, there have been some years that it was rough, that I wanted to resign, but I did not. I knew I needed to be on here. So I've seen West Fork change. Some things I don't like, but there's a lot of good changes. And I love the proactive that we're heading towards. So I'm real proud of that. And I've got to know a lot of really good people. I said, I'll be around here. I get rid of them.
I'm glad, I'm happy. She was actually at the water and sewer committee meeting this past, what was it, Thursday night? No,
I know just enough to be
Tuesday night.
dangerous about that.
But that's what they need, somebody, we got Nick back there coming to these meetings, and somebody needs to keep him accountable.
Nick's about to need an office here.
Yeah,
He's here
I
so
think
much.
it's gonna be even worse, I think. And I'm gonna miss Tom, tell him I saw I didn't get to say
Yeah.
goodbye.
He'll
I'll
be
probably
back.
see him.
Yeah, so, thank you.
I remember when
Thank
you
you
first
anyway.
came here, I didn't like him.
He takes a while to grow on you.
But he's done a good job.
Maybe you like him now?
Yeah, I do. His sense of humor is, I love it.
So, we do need to take a vote to accept Anita's resignation and declare the vacancy.
What if we don't accept it?
No. And I just wasted all his feet.
I know, I poured my heart out to
I
it.
know, and he was really honest.
I'll make a motion to reluctantly accept the resignation
And declare a vacancy on the council.
and declare vacancy.
We have a motion, second. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. So motion carries 7-1. Jan Throgmorton.
Be in the trouble, like
6-2, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed Dawn, 6-2.
Yes, I have, and I'm glad that
You need to speak. She does.
not quite so rough.
Oh, sorry.
Can she have her deal?
She absolutely can.
What the heck
Well,
would you do with
sometimes,
that?
sometimes we have to,
Troy
like the
does.
badges, you have to,
Shoot it?
no, they have to ask.
We'll do a write-off on it, we'll have to list it and write it off.
I mean, with badges had to,
Yes, she can have it.
But if anybody needs help, please call me, I'll volunteer, I'll be glad to help out. Chad, I'm still gonna have you done cards.
I hope so.
So I can tell you too, Anita, from, I think I can freely speak for all the department heads, we will be great friends. We talked about you at our last department head meeting, all good, all good. You do have a respect from the city department, so.
Yeah, but I'm kind of outspoken, as you guys figuring that out, but I try to be fair. Yes.
And I think that's where the time
And I
respect.
try not to curse a lot since we're on TV.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion second, all those in favor say yes. Yes. Those opposed say no. That motion carries 8-0. Thank you, Don.